Right, onto the teams of the season. Who are the best players that deserve their shot to be the chosen 11 for Gary and Jamie? Well, they've agreed on 5 of them. Their specialist subject is, of course, the back 4. And we've heard a bit about Van Dijk and Milenkovic. Let's talk Munoz, who again was such a star for Crystal Palace in the FA Cup final win over Manchester City. Clearly, you think he's the best right back in the league?
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding, and it's certainly not recency bias, Dave, as you know, that I put 7 or 8 of my team in the group chat on Friday before the cup final, and he was one of them.
Am I not on the group? I didn't see it.
No,
that's on WhatsApp.
It's WhatsApp. Doesn't do WhatsApp. And I've been impressed with him every time I see him play. I think we highlighted when you talk about sort of wing, because he is a wing back, so he's probably going to get forward more than maybe the average fullback in the Premier League. But you always talk about sort of thinking about Manchester United with the assist and the players they're trying to find in these roles. He looks absolutely perfect. So I went for him, and it just helped that he was outstanding in the cup final as well.
€8 million from Genk 18 months ago. Yeah. When actually, I don't know if you remember, but when we did our team of the half year point, he was in the stats team of the year, and it wasn't just because of the attacking numbers. He rated really highly on winning tackles and defensive duels as well.
And his reliability, he's played nearly all the games. I think a lot of the talented right backs in the league, and we know who they are, they've been unreliable. They haven't played a lot of football. Probably played less games than him. I think he's played 35, 36 matches. So yeah, for me, I just think, I've gone a little bit different this year. In the past, I've gone sort of quite sturdily with players maybe that have played for the bigger clubs, but this year I've been a bit more eclectic, and he's one of my choices. Eclectic. Not electric.
He's electric.
Put another 50 pence in the meter. Let's have a look at the rest. We all have a journey, Jamie.
That's not on mine.
So this is Gary's team with the ones in white, the ones that are purely Gary's selection. So there's again a real Nottingham Forest theme with Celts in goal. Kirkes might be on a journey of his own.
In the past, I would have gone for Riot or Alisson, thinking that they are probably the 2 best goalkeepers in the league from a point of view of just talent. But I just think you've got to respect what's happened this season at Nottingham Forest. In the past, I haven't used this criteria the way in which I have. I've gone for players who have been more sort of dominant over a 2 or 3 year period. But Sells, up until yesterday, had the clean sheet record. And I just think they've had such a special season. Kirkes, well, Liverpool are going to buy him. I would have thought so.
So he's 21, right?
Young.
Yeah,
very young.
So how come he's not your player of the year if he's the best left back in the league?
Well, actually, he's a bit older than Lewis Skelly. So Lewis Skelly's 18, so I just went for him just off that. But I think he's been over the season, he's been sensational. And I wanted to reward a Bournemouth player, to be fair, for what the season that they've had. Lewis Skelly, I think, definitely could have been in there, but he was young player of the year because he's 18.
What do you like about Tielemans?
I just think he's one of those players that, and Guimaraes and Tielemans, when you watch them play for Villa and Newcastle, I really like Villa and Newcastle as teams, the way in which they play football. So there's a lot that I like about
what... Is that your sort of idea of how football should be?
I'm not a perfectionist in football terms, but I think that Villa and Newcastle, I like Liverpool as well in terms of their style. And that's why I was surprised before the game when Arne Slot said that the top 6, 7 teams played the same. I don't quite see that.
Just quickly, what's your idea then when you think about Villa and Newcastle?
I don't know, just a bit more, probably a bit more imperfect in the way in which they see the game. I know that Villa play out from the back, and they play out from the back well, but I just think there's a lot of electricity in the wide players, a lot of spontaneity in terms of what I know they are very methodical in some of the passing movements, but I like the way in which Guimaraes is a great player for Newcastle. He's such an influence on them. Gravenberch has been fantastic for Liverpool. Yeah, Declan Rice could be in them. I mean, if you're saying to me now who would I want to bring to Manchester United, I'd say Declan Rice. Of course I would. But I just thought this season, the way in which those teams have played, those 2 players deserve to be.
Why do you single out Bruno from that Newcastle midfield then?
It could be Tonali. I like both of them. But I think Guimaraes has just got that touch more than Tonali. And I like both of them. I think they're a brilliant pair in there.
We'll see if Jamie has a Newcastle player, clearly not the same one, because it's a different name. Mbumo as your wide forward.
I just went for stat. I think he's the 3rd most involved in goals. Again, you think of what Brentford do. They go a little bit unsung. I know everyone respects Brentford, but they don't seem to get the mentions maybe of Bournemouth, Forest, Brighton. Brentford and what they're doing there, Thomas Frank's doing is unbelievable. And the front players, Visser as well, fantastic. And Burmo, they've lit us up over the last few years when we've been down to watch them. And they always deliver. And I think that what he's done this season is special. I think he's fantastic. A player I'd love to have in my team. You could go for Cooney, you could go for Morgan Rogers. Players like that have had great seasons as well, but I've just gone for him on numbers.
All right, on to Jamie's team then. Let's see Jamie's difference makers. He did go with Lewis Skelly and Alisson in goal. Tell us why Tonali.
No Gravenberch.
Tell us why Tonali.
I went for Tonali because Newcastle look like they're going to finish 3rd in the Premier League this season. I don't think many people would have predicted that. They won a trophy for the first time in 70 years. But they made a really average, or probably poor start to the season in some ways. And I don't think their season turned around until Eddie Howe put him in the holding role. Now, for a lot of the time he's been there, he'd been the attacking midfielder and Bruno'd been the holding. I think him going to the sitting midfield role, I think made a huge difference. Now, I could easily put Gravenberch in there. I was debating that, right throughout the week when I knew it was the team of the season. Probably what just swung it was how dominant Newcastle were in the cup final. I I'm not saying I judged it off one game, but I wasn't quite sure. But I just thought how powerful they looked in midfield on that day. And they just ran over Liverpool.
So is McAllister the pick of the Liverpool midfield for you?
McAllister's been Liverpool's best midfield player this season. Gravenberch got a lot of attention because he was fantastic at the start of the season, and also because he was new to the role and it was a bit of a shock and it was a surprise. But in terms of quality, in terms of Liverpool's midfield, McAllister's been Liverpool's best midfield player for 2 years, and the same again this season. And Declan Rice, I just think he's fantastic. Everyone will point to those 2 Real Madrid performances, but even yesterday scoring a goal, I think it's his best season with goals and assists. I think he's not far off double figures for both now, so he's adding goals to his game, which was always the criticism. And he plays every game. I never really see him have a bad game. Yeah, I think he's fantastic.
Flexibility to your system, perhaps with Morgan Gibbs-White, he might.
Well, I don't.
That's being kind, isn't it?
No, well, you've got 2 right wingers in yours. It's like having 2 left backs, and Buemo plays on the right. So I don't think there is when you think of the right, you've got Buemo, you've got Salah, you've got Saka, like 3 top, maybe someone else have missed. I think the league's missing a world-class left winger. I think when you look at Liverpool with Gakpo and Diaz, they're both good players. I wouldn't say they were great, or they're not Sadio Mane, if you like, or it's not Eden Hazard. We haven't really got
Gibbs
that.
White out there, though.
No, but he's playing floating. He's coming in from that. The way we both put Cunha in at halfway stage. So I'm going for Gibbs White. Every time I watch him, he's outstanding. He can got pace. He could play there. He has played there at times. And Pep Guardiola likes him. So that'll do for me.
Does he?
But if you read the reports, alleged. Well, you said Carragher was going to Liverpool. You told me.
Okay, there is an alternative to both of these sides.
I mean, to be honest, I let Dave come in because I didn't want to start arguing with you on your last month or your first appearance, I think, from the first show of the season. But how can you pick Lewis Skelly as young player? You're not kids.
No, to be honest, it's not bizarre at all.
It is very bizarre.
No, because I think he's a genuine young player. This idea of 21, 22-year-olds, an 18-year-old is young.
Yeah, but so he's 21.
I know, but 21 is young, but you're getting on to this.
You forgot Lewis Skelly.
At 20, how can I forget Lewis Skelly? I picked him literally 5 minutes before.
Guys, you've been getting on so well today.
No, but Lewis Skelly, to be fair, is a genuine young player who's broken for the first time this season and just felt it was like,
He's your first pick. So there is an alternative. This being Monday Night Football, there is a stats-heavy team of the season. And we sort of always try and look for the alternative.
None of our players got in.
Well, that's the idea of this team.
Sorry, I was thinking, gee.
He doesn't know what alternatives, but he knows what electric means.
No, electric. Sorry.
Electric.
I thought he's... Oh my God. Apologies at home. When you say stats alternative, I was imagining that the top stats from Opta would get pick that team, not alternative, like as in every single player's got to be different.
So we've come up with the best attacking right back in the league in Alexander Arnold, Van Hecker, who makes more forward runs than any other centre back. Dean Howson, we know about his incredible passing, and Anthony Robertson's lung busting runs and his numbers with
Casado has been good, by the way.
Dean Henderson, the best XG prevented in the Palace goal. Iwobi's attacking numbers are really strong for Fulham this season. Caicedo, most possession won in the Premier League this season. We know how well Cole Palmer started the team, has dropped off a little bit of late, but he's still more shot involvement than anybody else. Morgan Rogers is a receiver. He's received the ball more than any other player between the lines. Chris Wood, we know, is XG over performance is so strong, and his shot ratio his goal to shot ratio has been record breaking at times this season. Just dropped back a little bit of late, and Cunha could be an interesting signing for Manchester United. Any of those tempt you?
Casado, to be fair, I think he's been very good for Chelsea. Rogers has been good. I mentioned him before. He did come into my mindset of the side where I put Mbeumo, because I think Rogers had a fantastic season, but I think Mbeumo's numbers are just so big at a club like Brentford.
Probably Cunha. I had him in the first half of the season. Obviously, he had a ban. He missed a few games second half of the season, but you just look where Nottingham Forest are in the league compared to Wolves. Gibbs White was fantastic every time I watched them. Yeah, so he was that sort of floating player, an inside left pocket.
So let's finish on a thought on Cunha. If he's indeed on his way to Manchester United, what else do they need in that front three? If the Delap has been linked as well, there's even been talk of.
I don't think Delap should go to Man United.
You don't think he should, or do you think Man United should take Delap?
I just think what happened to Højlund, sometimes I think when you're going from a team who've been relegated to, I know Man United are 16th, but it's Man United, one of the biggest clubs in the world, the eyes and ears, I just think that's such a big step. I know people might say it's from there to there in terms of league position, but Man United's a monster.
You think it's an upgrade on Højlund?
I do, but I don't think I just think almost that next step of like Everton or someone, you know, you're going to play every week, you're going to be the main man, you're going to feel like one of the best players in the team, he's the best player in the team at Ipswich, everything goes through him. Go to another club where you're that for 2 years, then go to that sort of Man United or whatever, a sort of team, sort of Champions League, or going to be trying to compete for that sort of level.
Yeah, look, if he comes, everyone will get behind him. He's a young player, but we've seen that, United have been a very tough place to play over these last few years for a lot of very experienced players. So we're right to express caution in terms of what's happening at United, in terms of, you need to be resilient, you need to be ready, and I hope that he can go in there and get off to a good start and have a great career there if that's the move that happens. But we are right to think about the things that have happened to other players. Højlund's coming at 70 odd million, Xerxes coming at 30 odd million. What's going to happen to them? Do they just leave? We saw Sancho come in, we've seen Anthony come in, Rashford's going to leave. It's interesting, and there's a good knowledge of Delap at United from the people who've come in at the sort of hierarchical level.
Jason Wilcox.
Yeah, so Jason Wilcox has worked with him. He's obviously having a big say on this. Omar Barada obviously at City as well, so they've had a good understanding of his game and a good understanding of his character, which is helpful. But Manchester United is a different animal, and I think that, I hope he does well there.
Gary, thank you very much. Jamie, thank you. If you like their teams, do let them know on social media. If you don't, do let them know on social media. If you like the alternative team, do let me know. And if you didn't like it, let them know.